One thing that Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party really need to focus in on during the next federal election, because I think it is an Achilles heel of the Liberal parties, is Justin Trudeau and the Liberals' obsession with ESG. That being environmental and social governance scores, the thing that many sort of elitists tend to use to determine how they're going to invest or which projects governments endorse based on how environmental, socially conscious and friendly to liberal governments that they happen to be. It's one of those things where I don't think a lot of Canadians think about ESG on a daily basis. Many of them don't even know what ESG is. But if enough focus is put on it, I think a lot of Canadians are going to be very grossed out by the way that this sort of demonstrates the warped view of the Liberal government. I want to read what the Liberals' 2021 platform even said about this, because it really demonstrates that they don't actually care about the prosperity of Canadians before these random sort of agenda goals that they have on the side. But before I get to that, I just quickly want to plug the fact that I, Wyatt Claypool, am running for the Calgary Signal Hill Conservative Party nomination. If you live in this riding, buy a membership. Look at my website in the description, wyattclaypool.com. If you want a candidate who, as a representative, will push back on environmental craziness, ESG, DEI, and all this garbage. Anyways, here is the Liberals' 2021 platform. You can tell it is because Justin Trudeau and Freeland are wearing masks, staring lovingly into each other's eyes. And it says, achieving results for Canadians. And so we have an aggressive and ambitious plan to ensure that Canada comes back from COVID-19 stronger, fairer, healthier, and more prosperous. Notice he said fairer. So not prosperous is like one of those side things that he mentions at the end. Fairer and healthier are the things that he wants us to be first. And he says, as with any plan, it comes down to implementation. Canadians need their federal government to make decisions based on high quality data and based on the best interests of Canadians. This requires a strong public service that has the tools to meet the challenges of Canada in 2021 and onward. And I want to skip down to this part because this is what's concerning. Because, they talk about some of their strategic plans for the economy. It's very platitudinous. We want more gender diversity and whatnot in the economy. And then it comes down to this point, and it says, use the government's buying power to set standards and norms, requiring suppliers of goods and services to apply the highest ethical and sustainability standards across their supply chain. Well, that's not going to make people more prosperous, Justin. Just letting you know, if you're putting more restrictions on how people deliver goods and services to individuals, they're going to cost more, there's going to be fewer of them, and people will be getting them slower. But it doesn't matter because that would, getting rid of all these regulations would go against the ESG agenda. And it goes on, it says, and we will further strengthen federal procurement policies to integrate human rights, environmental and social corporate governance, ESG principles, and supply chain transparency principles that ensure they apply to both core government agencies and crown corporations. Putting human rights and ESG principles at the heart of our procurement processes aligns not only with our values, but also aligns with Canada's national interest. Well, that doesn't make sense because Justin Trudeau and the Liberals are still trying to crush Alberta and Newfoundland's oil and gas industries and continuing to import oil and gas from dictatorships. So they don't really care about human records. Justin Trudeau is the man who bowed to a former Iranian regime official after the Iranian government just murdered a bunch of Canadians on flight PS 175 or 752. I always forget. I'm sorry. But they killed hundreds of Canadians. Justin Trudeau didn't care. He was fine palling around with them. And he even had the government sue or fight the families of the victims in court to defend the Iranian regime, to pretend it wasn't a terrorist attack, even though it was obviously intentional and meant to try and get at a bunch of Iranian Canadian citizens in order to get back at the United States, because Iran was actually scared of the United States under Donald Trump, so they didn't want to fire on American troops or citizens, so they killed Canadians instead, and Justin Trudeau is absolutely fine with that. But Poilievre and the Conservatives need to highlight the fact that every time Justin Trudeau and the Liberals say, we stand for X, we stand for Y, we stand for Z, they don't actually. They stand for ESG. They stand for environmental and social governance type standards, ruling how the economy is done. They are telling you that they want the government more heavily involved in the economy in a very socialistic manner in order to dictate where you get your supplies from, what your prices are, the gender equality or equity inside your company, all this nonsense. if the Conservatives run against this very strange left-wing utopianism, they will do even better than they currently are, or they'll at least be able to maintain their very high numbers. Mark my words, the polls, like they always do, will tighten for the next election. I think it's still going to be a Conservative blowout, but if we want it to be a Conservative victory above 200 seats rather than below 200 seats, you gotta go and sort of take an axe to the ESG pillars that basically girds up the entire ideology of the Liberal Party. What's so sad, too, is that there's literally people inside the Conservative Party, when I say inside, I mean running for nominations, who believe in ESG, and they need to also maybe, figure out if they should be actually running for the Conservative Party. I have two opponents in my riding of Signal Hill, this one again, two candidates, both former MLAs from Kenny's government, who both push the concept of equity, not equality, not equality of opportunity. We all are equal under the law and we all have the same ability to achieve in terms of our, legal ability to achieve. There's no barriers from government or society in our way. These people believe in equity, not equality. One of them cut a weird video about gender equity and how we need to fight around the world for gender equity, like equal outcomes based on gender. It's absolutely silly. And another one, when her article that she had written about her, basically hinting that she's going to run here, I think the word equity was used like 10 times. If you're using the word equity, you're not a conservative. Pierre Poilievre doesn't consider you a conservative because he's said it before that we need to do away with this stupid garbage. I think literally the quote he had was, "It's stupid garbage," referring to DEI and ESG. And the funny thing, even the ESG crowd knows that this stuff is insane and it's unappealing. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, is getting basically cited by his own company, saying that his obsession with DEI and ESG is actually going to ruin them financially because he's actively picking underperforming companies, underperforming initiatives. He's obsessed with the green economy. He wants to throw money into those things because they have high ESG scores, because it's an arbitrary system meant to boost up companies that otherwise do not deserve to be, because they hit the right arbitrary sort of ESG, environmental social governance boxes. It's not actually about being a good ethical company. That's why so many of the pro ESG companies are in China that are supported by the Communist Party of China. There's so many people who ends up thinking that they're being great people by supporting ESG causes, when oftentimes it's like the most corrupt companies you could find who slathered a new paint job over themselves with the words ESG. Anyways, that should be it for me today. I just want to make this as an encouragement for Conservatives to take a swing at the ESG agenda. Other than that, again, if you live in Signal Hill, check out my website, wyattclaypool.com. And if you want to support myself and the National Telegraph, you don't want to support the campaign, you can donate to our Give, Send, Go link in the description below. We are being sued by a developer, whatever, billionaire, whatever. It's a stupid defamation case claiming that we defamed him despite the fact that he can't produce any evidence. The guest writer we had who mentioned him in an article about Aaron O'Toole got all of the information about him from a Globe and Mail article that was linked. We barely said anything about him, but he's mad about it because, we have defamed him. We have ruined his honor. We didn't actually. He's just trying to bully us. And if you want to contribute to our legal fund, it really helps us out. We've had to pay over $25,000 in legal bills, so any dollar helps take the burden off of us. Anyways, that should be it for me today. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your evening.